Alright, so this video is going to be packed with great important information because we're going to be talking about cross-browser testing and cross-platform testing. We're going to discover why these are important and how you're going to benefit by performing these actions. And as you might imagine, cross-browser testing deals with testing your application across different browsers. So believe it or not, all browsers are not created equal. You may have an application that performs as you expect it to on, say, Safari. But if you switch to Firefox, for instance, then you'll start noticing some differences and some glitches, or the application is not, behaving as you would expect. Next up is cross-platform testing. And what we mean by this is that we are going to be testing the application across different platforms. For example, different operating system or different type of devices, whether they're mobile or desktop or tablet, etc. Right here let's have a look at how we can implement these two things in WebdriverIO. Welcome to this video series, where we explore the world of WebdriverIO to help you succeed in your test automation career. Hello, my name is 𝐿𝐴, and I'm the founder of AutomateNow, and I'm excited to team up with Lambda Test to bring you these awesome videos. My background is in computer engineering, and I have over a decade in software testing experience. You can learn more about my company by heading over to AutomateNow.io, and you can also find us on YouTube by searching AutomateNow. Alright, so this video is going to be packed with great important information because we're going to be talking about cross-browser testing and cross-platform testing. We're going to discover why these are important and how you're going to benefit by performing these actions. The first one up is going to be cross-browser testing. So let's have a look at what we mean by that. And as you might imagine, cross-browser testing deals with testing your application across different browsers. On the screen, you're seeing different browser vendors that are available on the market today. This is just a few. There are others, of course, but you may have users on different type of browsers. So that's why we want to make sure that we're testing the application on different browsers. Let's have a look at some of the benefits that we're going to get by doing this. And the first benefit that we have here is improved compatibility. What this means is that we're ensuring that the application is going to be compatible across the different browsers. We want to make sure that the application behaves as we expect it to in all the different scenarios. For example, if you're on Chrome or Firefox, Safari, etc., you want the application to perform exactly the same as you would expect in every single situation. The next one here is a wider audience reach. So essentially, we're just making sure that every user of our application, whether they're using a Safari or they're using Opera or they're using Microsoft Edge, we want to make sure that they have the same experience with the application no matter what browser they're testing on. The next one here says catches browser-specific bugs. So believe it or not, all browsers are not created equal. You may have an application that performs as you expect it to on, say, Safari. But if you switch to Firefox, for instance, then you'll start noticing some differences and some glitches, or the application is not, behaving as you would expect. So this is what we mean by browser-specific bugs. As you test in different browsers, you're going to discover different things in different browsers. The next one is enhanced user experience. So we want the user to have the best experience possible, no matter which browser they're on. Okay, so you may have a user that likes to use Chrome, for example, or you have another user that's on a Mac and they like to use Safari. You want both of those users to have the same experience without any issues. And the last thing that I have here is supports legacy systems. And what I mean by this is that we have some users that like to use a certain version of a browser or an older version of a browser that isn't necessarily supported by major browser vendors. But for whatever reason, you have a large number of those users using your application. So with this, you want to make sure that you're also testing those versions of browsers so that those users are not left out. Next up is cross-platform testing. And what we mean by this is that we are going to be testing the application across different platforms. For example, different operating system or different type of devices, whether they're mobile or desktop or tablet, etc. Right here, I have Linux and macOS, Windows, Android. So that's what we mean by this. We're going to be testing the application or running our different test scenarios across different platforms. Let us also have a look at some of the benefits of using cross-platform testing. The first benefit that I have listed here is broader device coverage. So essentially, we want to look at our data and see what type of device the user is on when they're interacting with the application. And then we want to ensure that we're testing those devices. So whether that's a tablet or a mobile device or a desktop, right? We want to cover all those devices. Next one up is consistent performance across platforms. So we want to ensure that the application doesn't have any performance misbehaviors depending on the device that they're on. So for example, someone is using a mobile device. You want to ensure that the performance doesn't change if they were to use a desktop, for example. Next one here, I have catches platform-specific bugs. And this is similar to cross-browser testing in the sense that we, instead of testing on different browsers, we're now making sure that no matter what platform they're on, whether they're using a mobile device or a desktop or a tablet, you want to ensure that there are no bugs on those different devices, right? So you may have an application that performs just fine on a desktop, but when you switch to a mobile device, you start having all different kinds of issues and you start noticing little differences. And this is what we mean by that. And we also have here UI consistency. So we want to ensure that the user has the same UI no matter what device they're on. And this is important because not every platform is going to render the application exactly as you would want it to. So we want to get as close to what we want as possible across different platforms. And lastly, here I have accessibility compliance. So of course, we want to make sure that our A11Y requirements are being complied with across different platforms. Now that you know the difference between cross-browser testing and cross-platform testing, let's have a look at how we can implement these two things in WebdriverIO. And first, we're going to take a look at cross-browser testing. And to get started with that, we're going to need to go to the Lambda test website that has the compatibilities generator, or you can just do a Google search on that. So the direct URL is this one, lambdatest.com/compatibilities generator or compatibilities-generator. Once you're on there, you're going to need to select a language. So in our case, we're selecting JavaScript right here, Node.js, and then we're going to select the WebdriverIO for the platform. Okay, we select that, and notice that the information right here is changing as we select different options. Okay, I'm going to leave this tool as Selenium and then Selenium 4 as the latest version. So I'm going to leave that there. And let's walk through these options right here, or these capabilities. And this is what we're going to need to update in the WebdriverIO project. We're going to need to update the config file and more specifically the capabilities section. All right, the first thing here that we see is the browser name. Okay, we're going to specify the different browsers. In our case, we're doing cross-browser testing, so we're going to test on different browsers, for example, Chrome, Firefox, Safari, etc. The next thing here is the browser version, and then here you can specify which version you want to use. And right here is where we select that information. For example, I can say here, instead of Chrome, I can select Firefox. And notice how this got updated to Firefox now. And same thing here with the version. I can select a different version, for example, and it's going to show that information here. Or I could use the word latest right here, and that's going to get me, it's always going to give me the latest version for that specific browser. Right, next up, we have the LT options, and this stands for Lambda test options. You're going to need to fill this out with your own information. For example, the username and the access key. You're going to replace this text with that information, okay? Then we have the platform name. In our case, we're not doing cross-platform testing yet, so we're going to leave this the same, okay? All of the information is going to look the same for the different browsers, okay? So next we have the project right here. We can specify a project name, and then this information right here is always going to be the same no matter what. All right, so for example, right here, we can select a project name. So let's give this project a name of WDIO, and notice that this will get updated right here. All right, we can also say an automation project name. Here I can say, for instance, cross browser test. If I go up here to this advanced capabilities, I could select, for example, Windows 11 instead, right here. Okay, so we're going to use Windows 11 for all the different scenarios or the different browsers that we're going to use. And here we can give these tests a name as well. I can say, for example, test 1, 2, 3, etc. Right? And there are other options that you can select right here. All right. But once you have selected your options, you can just click on copy right here and then take that information and paste it into the capabilities section in your config file. So I already completed that, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys what that's going to look like in the config section. All right, so we're going to go to the WebdriverIO config file. And in there, you're going to find this capabilities option right here. So what we're going to do is to go inside of these brackets right here, and I'm going to paste the first capabilities that I have here. All right, so let's walk through this. And what I've said here is that I want to use Chrome as the browser name, okay? And then I want to use the latest version of Chrome available. And these right here are my Lambda test information, my access key, and my username. You know, I'm using a .env file in order to pull that information into the test. And right here I have, for example, the platform name, which is Windows 11. And I've given my build a name. So I've just named it WebdriverIO cross-browser test. I've also named this project WDIO. And the name of this test is going to be Chrome on Windows 11. All right, this information stays the same as I showed you earlier. So this is one browser. Next, I want to add a couple more browsers to have a little bit more coverage. So let me go ahead and put a comma right here to add a new capability. So I'm going to put comma, and then we're going to paste the new capabilities. So I pasted two more. The next one here says Firefox. Okay, so I also want to use the latest version of Firefox. And then this information pretty much stays the same with the exception of this name, which is Firefox on Windows 11. Okay, the next one is Microsoft Edge. And again, I'm using the name of Edge on Windows 11 right here. And this is pretty much all you need to do in order to run your test across different browsers. All right, so what we're going to do next is to save this right now. And we're going to run some tests to see them running on different browsers. So the test that I'm going to run is this one right here that says assertions, suspect.js. And this one is basically just going to go to the Lambda test playground, Selenium playground, and this is going to perform different assertions on that website. All right, so let's go back over here, right? We have all of the different browsers that we want to use, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and execute this. I already specified that I want to use the assertions folder, and I'm going to run the specs files inside of that folder. All right, so all I need to do now is to bring up my terminal and say npm run wdio. I'm going to kick that off. Now let me go ahead and open up the Lambda test website, and here we see the test being executed. It says WDIO cross-browser test. So let me go ahead and open this up, right? And we see the different tests executing. Right now, I have two threads, right? That's the maximum number of threads that I can use. So I'm using both of them. One of them is running Firefox Windows 11. The other one is running Chrome on Windows 11. Once either one of these is done, then the next one is going to kick in, which is going to be the Edge browser. All right, so let's go ahead and give this a minute to finish executing. You can see here on the right, you know, the actions that are taking place as the test is running. All right, and when I click on this, for example, the first one right here, notice that it's going to say here that it took 33 seconds, right? Time that it took to execute. We can see here the browser that we used. This was Firefox. And we also see Windows 11 as the platform. All right, this one here, if I click on it, it changes to Chrome, and it stays as Windows 11. Now it's running Edge. Right here we see Microsoft Edge. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a minute to finish executing. And once everything's done, I'm going to come back. All of my tests are done executing now, and we can see here how long they took to execute on the different browsers, with Windows 11 Firefox being the fastest and Windows 11 Edge being the slowest. I can even go ahead and click here to expand this, and we're going to be able to see the test in action. Let me go ahead and hit play right here. You can see that it's going to the Lambda test, Selenium playground, and it's doing the different interactions and different validations on that website. All right, so let me go ahead and close this up right here. Right, if I go back to the code, we're going to see here that my test execution is complete, and we can see here 3 tests pass. Okay, that means that we run the same set of tests on 3 different browsers. That's why we see 3 right here. Now we know how to do cross-browser testing. Next, let's take a look at how we can do cross-platform testing. So let me scroll back down here to the capability section, and I'm going to add a new capability all the way down here. I'm just going to put a comma right here and then paste a new one right here. So the new one that I have here is just for Safari, okay? So I want to use another browser and a new platform, right? So the platform in this case is macOS Sequoia. So I'm specifying the latest version as of today, the day when I'm recording this video. Now I'm going to call this Safari on macOS Sequoia. That's going to be the name of this test. I'm also going to change the build information this time from cross-browser testing. I'm going to call this one cross-platform testing. All right, so I'm going to update this for all the different scenarios. So let me go up here, put it there, and we're going to go up here, put it there, and lastly, we're going to do this one right here for Chrome. Next, let's take a look at the platform that we want to run on. So in this case, we're running Windows 11, so that's fine. Let's leave this as Windows 11. This one, let's also leave it as Windows 11 with Firefox instead of Chrome. And this one, we're going to say Microsoft Edge, but instead of Windows 11, we're going to say Windows 10. Okay, so let's change this to 10. We're going to update the test name right as well. And this one is Safari, and of course, this is going to be on macOS. So at this time, not only are we running our tests on different browsers, but we're also running in them on different platforms. And this is going to give us a lot more test coverage because we're testing different platforms, different OSs, and you can imagine how you can increase this by simply adding new capabilities here to test the different scenarios that you may need. Let me go ahead and save this now, and I'm going to again execute this test so that you guys can see it. Let me go back to Lambda test. And here we can see here the new test being executed. The last one we ran was this WebdriverIO cross-browser test. This one is cross-platform test. So let me go ahead and open this up. And here we see Firefox on Windows 11. And we also see Chrome on Windows 11. So we're going to have those two kick off first. And as soon one of these is done executing, we're going to see one of the other ones that are queued up. For example, the one for Safari or the Microsoft Edge. They're going to start running here. And there we see Chrome is done executing. Now we have Edge on Windows 10 being executed. And we also have Safari on macOS Sequoia here. All right, so let me go ahead and open one of these up that is done. For example, the Firefox one on Windows 11, we can see here that indeed the Firefox browser is the one that is opening up. You can see here that looks a lot like the Firefox browser. All right, let me go ahead and close this up. Let's go back to macOS over here. Of course, you can see the information right here, how long it took to run, the type of browser, and the version right here. So if I make this larger here, we can see here what is going on the Safari browser. Right? So in this case, we can see that the Safari browser took the least amount of time at 12 seconds, and Firefox on Windows 11 took the longest at 40 seconds. And that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed this video learning about cross-browser testing and cross-platform testing. This is a really exciting field for me, and I hope you will enjoy testing different scenarios and different type of devices and different platforms. So go ahead and check it out. Thank you for making it all the way to the end of the video. Check out any of the links on the screen to get connected with the Lambda test community, get certified, and get access to the code that you saw today. See you in the next video.